Guy, you see this? See what I got here?
Looks like a piece of looks like a brick. Oh, let me hold on a second. Let's go Mets. Timothy Seymour, number one dad, number one fan. That's adorable.
I mean,
it's clearly a gift from your kid, so I won't say anything.
That's very kind. I mean, I'm waiting for the next insult on the Mets. Meanwhile, I mean, again, I am part of the foundation of Citi Field. There's a brick with my name on it out there that my guess is you'd probably hock a lunger on. But I'm there, man.
Hold on a second. Are you telling me in the vestibule or in the outside area of Shea Stadium, there are these bricks that the Mets sell to people like you to raise money?
To guys like me. I don't know if it's to raise money. Let's be clear here. I think, although we've had some issues with our franchise with Madoff and people have questioned whether we're a big market team, this isn't about raising dough. This is about helping guys like me feel like I am a part of the foundation, which I am.
First of all, you're not. It sounds like something that like Kevin Costner did in Bull Durham. It's so Bush League. It's so third city nonsense. But you know what? I've come to expect that from the Mets. And if you enjoy going out to Shea and seeing your brick amongst the other bricks that they're using to sign Carlos Beltran, then God bless you. Good for you.
Yeah, we are sitting brick by brick out there. And my guess is if the Yankees tried to do something like this, they wouldn't be able to sell the industrial cinder blocks that match the facade of your photo. You know what else this is, though? It looks a little bit like what in the commodity world?
It looks like a gold bar.
Looks like a gold bar. And I think with all that's been going on in the commodities world, we spent some time talking about oil and the futures contract going negative and the USO oil ETF maybe going to zero. Talk about gold, because I get the sense that it's never been a greater time to invest in gold. I get more questions about gold from investors. And while I'm a big believer in gold long term, I actually am a little skeptical on all this momentum around gold. But you traded the thing back in the big 80s, I'm guessing, wearing suspenders or braces, as you called them.
100%. Traveling the world. I've actually seen gold deliveries. I've been in South America. I mean, I've seen some really interesting things, and it does look a lot like a gold bar. And I'll say this, and I don't want to go down this rabbit hole too much, but over the last couple of days, you mentioned it, we saw the May crude contract go negative.
Right.
And what basically that meant is, if you're long a futures contract, on the day that contract expires, if you do nothing with it, in other words, if you don't roll it to the next month or if you don't sell it, you're literally going to get a phone call and say, okay, Mr. Seymour, we have your barrels of crude oil. Where do you want them?
Right.
And the problem with that is there's no place to put
them. There's
literally no place to put them, and which is why it actually made fiscal sense for some people to sell it at a negative price. So
what's that mean for gold? What
I think
play that out.
I think the other end of that spectrum is there might be people that say, you know what? I actually want physical delivery of my gold. So I'm going to hold my gold into delivery and have the COMEX call me up and say, Mr. Adami, where do you want your gold delivered? And I think you could actually see that. I'm not suggesting it's going to happen, but I think there's some people out there that think the paper market is as fugazi on the downside as it could potentially be on the upside. So I think there might be a situation where people ask for gold delivery, and if whoever can't make that delivery, be it the LME, the London Mercantile Exchange, or the Commodities Exchange, you're going to have a problem. So I hear what you're saying in terms of gold, maybe not. You're not that enamored at these levels, but I think this crude oil market might show people in the gold market what could happen the other way.
Yeah, and fugazi being Sicilian for BS, for those who needed that translation. I think what we're talking about are the futures markets, especially for commodities, that the message here, the PSA is be careful what you invest in, and be careful what you think you own. And be careful to understand exactly what the structure is of those underlying investments. In the case of gold, I get that it's the day of the fiat currency goes by once again, and I think what the Fed did 2 weeks ago, we talked at length about it. Another $434 billion of stimulus has just been magically drawn up by the government, who really just needs to stay in power, and that's I'll leave my politics alone.
You're right. I mean,
just lost half our audience. And by the way, you could feel this way on both sides of the aisle. So think about that at home. But what I think about gold is the following. I don't want to buy gold when everyone else is buying it and when it's running. And I think gold has proven to be a bit of a widowmaker for people that have assumed it's a one-way ticket higher. I do think that any central bank, fiscal, monetary, excuse me, and fiscal stimulus from the governments that worth their salt will have some follow through in terms of economic activity. I actually think the second half of the year, we don't need the economy to do a whole lot of anything to see gold prices pull back a little bit as you get to see a little bit more of a headwind. And remember, we don't have inflation, at least right now. We have deflation, and often gold is a hedge for that. But I think what you're seeing in terms of markets that no longer investors have comfort or confidence that there's always an orderly outcome, I think is part of the gold discussion. And as we talk about gold, because we just do this, I need to know from you. Give me a couple songs. Give me your 2 or 3 best rock songs with gold in the title.
That's fair. So, as you may know, Neil Young is one of my all-time faves. Not a top 10, but definitely a top 15. Big fan of Neil Young. So, for me, it's After the Gold Rush. Bang, right off the top. So, I throw it to you.
Well, we're going to agree to disagree on Neil Young. In fact, when I'm having trouble with insomnia, I throw on some Neil Young, or I want to torture my kids. How about a little Fleetwood Mac? How about Gold Dust Woman? I know you've got a little time for Stevie Nicks. I would go Christy McVie.
80s Stevie Nicks. A yes.
That was the 70s, by the way. I think that was the 70s Fleetwood Mac, by the way. So just FYI.
I'm just talking in terms of, where I was.
And I'm a major seller of 80s Bowie, but I'm a buyer of 70s Bowie. How about Golden Years? I mean, that's a great tune.
That is one of the most monotonous songs. It is a brutal song. Most of David Bowie, the only song, in my opinion, worth listening to of David Bowie, and that's a bit of a reach, is Starman.
Starman? I mean, Major Tom?
No. I don't want to sing it here. Maybe we can get it in the outro, but anyway.
No, but and this is for be another show, but I want to tease this show because people should tune in for this one. When we go through artists from the 70s who absolutely became unlistenable in the 80s, and I am
Rod
talking
Stewart.
about it.
I think Rod Stewart's on. Billy Joel,
Elton John, Billy Joel, Hall and Oates. I mean, I think we agree on Rich Girl, Sarah Smile.
Jefferson Starship into Airplane
into it was terrible. It was terrible. Real quick before we get out of here, again, middle earnings season, some big stuff after the bell today. Any themes, thoughts before we go?
I looked at Texas Instruments, good quarter. The guidance they gave, you could drive a truck through. I think in terms of Texan, maybe people pulled things forward, worried about the supply chain. I think it's too rich a stock. My inclination is to sell it at 110. Netflix, the net ads were ridiculously strong. But, I think people might have expected that. The price action post-market wasn't great. But I'm more inclined to be long Netflix and short it here.
It's interesting you bring up Texan because I think the Houston Texans are going to regret trading DeAndre Hopkins, but that's for another story. This NFL draft, by the way, nobody's talking about it. I mean, it's there's nothing going on there, huh?
We'll talk about it tomorrow. And by the way, Gronk just decided to come out of retirement, and he's going to sign with Tampa Bay to play with Brady. And it looks like Tampa and the Patriots are going to have to trade picks. Don't be surprised. You heard it here first. If somehow the Patriots wind up with Tua as their quarterback.
Interesting. I don't know what to say other than it's great time to be talking about football when it's 6 months away. But Guy, let's talk about baseball. Let's talk about it tomorrow. And good for Gronk and Tom. They deserve to be together, I guess.
Later.